Hello everyone, this is my first YouTube video and my name is Jie Zhao. I'm a graduate student from Tianjin School of Engineering. This is a final presentation video for my system engineering class, and my topic is system engineering in electric vehicle. I divide this presentation into two parts. This video is part 1. Well, in part 1, I will first talk about the background of the electric vehicle, and then I will focus on the concept development stage, and in the end, I will talk about the challenges of electric vehicle system. So now, let's get started. Okay, when it comes to electric vehicles, I bet the first thing comes to your mind may be Elon Musk and his Tesla, right? However, the history of electric vehicles is far longer than nearly the decades. It can trace back to 18th century. Well, in 1800, Alessandro Volta used silver and zinc made the first primary battery. 31 years later, Michael Faraday proved electromagnetic phenomena. Since then, many scientists began their researches into EVs. However, most of the attempts to make electric vehicles were proved possible but limited in application, especially the battery. It's until 1859, Gaston Planté invented the first lead-acid battery. And this lead-acid battery has bigger capacity to storage electric energy. This improvement of battery provided a major boost for the development of electric vehicles. Since then, in a very short time, many electric vehicle prototypes were made. In 1867, World Expo held in Paris. Franz Caravaggio introduced his two-wheel electric vehicle to world, but unfortunately, it wasn't recognized as a car at that time, so it is not allowed to drive on road. After that, in 1881, Trouvé, a French inventor, made the first three-wheels electric vehicle, and he not only made it, he also tested it on the street of Paris. So far, electric vehicles have taken shape. We have our two-wheels EV and then three-wheels EV, and until 1884, we have our first four-wheels electric vehicles, which was invented by Thomas Parker. He improved and redesigned the battery so that it has bigger capacity than the lead-acid battery, and then he made the first mass-produced electric car in London. I think this is a landmark event, because mass production enabled electric vehicles to occupy the market rapidly. And then Porsche designed the world's first four-wheel hybrid electric vehicle, which has a better dynamic performance by adding two motors, and one of them is a gasoline engine used to charge the battery. Until now, electric vehicles had unlimited scenery. At that time, there were almost 2,000 vehicles in New York, and guess what? Almost 40% of them were electric vehicles, and only 20% of them were fuel vehicles. There is no doubt that the number of EV had totally exceeded the number of fuel cars in the beginning of 20th century. However, in 1920, the development of electric vehicles was a different story. Well, it started from Henry Ford. He greatly reduced the production cost of fuel vehicles by adopting assembly lines. Well, let me give you an example. This car is the Century Electric Roadster. And this car is a Ford Model T. And guess what? The Century Electric Roadster was sold for $1,750 in 1920, but Ford Model T was only sold for $550. The excellent price promoted the popularization of fuel vehicles, and compared with fuel vehicles, electric vehicles have so many disadvantages, such as it has slow speed and short range. Since then, the electric vehicle gradually began to lose its position in the automobile market after 1920s. This situation continued until 1970. The oil crisis broke out, and at that time, people could see signs like, "Sorry, there's no gas at almost any gas station." And then the air pollution caused by the automobile emission began to attract people's attention. So the oil crisis and the air pollution have forced people and the government to turn their attention to electric vehicles. Japanese government funding 20 million to redevelop electric vehicle, and in 1990, the state of California issued a restriction law to prevent air pollution. The strong implementation of these regulations helped electric vehicles come back to market again. Alright, now let's talk about the concept development stage of electric vehicle system. First, we'll talk about the needs analysis. Well, there's no doubt that cars really changed our lives. It makes our life more convenient and comfortable, but unfortunately, it also causes environmental pollution. So people want to find a more environmental friendly vehicles. Obviously, electric vehicle is the best solution because they can achieve zero emissions. Another advantage of electric cars is the electric power can be produced in so many ways. We can get electric power from solar power, from wind power, and thermal power, and etc. But fuel cars are powered only by gasoline. In addition, an investigation initiated by AAA shows that 20% of Americans will choose electric vehicles as their second car. Economists use Baker's model to predict market share of electric vehicles. As shown in the picture, the blue line represents electric car and the red line represents fuel car. And it is obvious that by 2030, the electric vehicles will have much more market share than diesel vehicles. So we can have our conclusion that electric vehicle will definitely replace fuel vehicle in the future. Okay, the next stage is concept exploration, and in this section, I will mainly talk about what performances should electric vehicle system have. Now, according to different power sources, electric vehicles can be roughly divided into pure electric vehicles, hybrid electric vehicles, and fuel cell electric vehicles. Well, only PEV can achieve zero emissions, so we chose PEV as our system discussion object. I suppose our biggest requirement is we want electric vehicles to have the same driving range as diesel vehicles, right? This means battery must have enough electricity storage capacity. So in order to clarify the storage capacity of the battery, let's do some calculations first. Well, this is the equation of motion, and M represents mass, and Ft represents traction force, and Fr represents resistive force. So this is the first analysis of a regular car, and we assume that the vehicle is moving at a constant speed v. According to this first analysis, we can write the equation of the energy consumed by the vehicle. The values of each coefficient in this equation are shown in the table below, and now we can calculate the average energy required to accelerate a car to 27 meters per second is 130 kilowatts. So it is really obvious that the electric vehicles really need a high energy density battery to let the vehicle to accelerate quickly and have a reasonable driving range. Nowadays, most manufacturers use nickel hydride battery as the energy source of electric vehicles. Well, how to quickly and efficiently charge electric vehicles' battery is a difficult problem in electric vehicle system. Most electric vehicles today are plug-in vehicle, which means you can use wired charging method for battery charging. But with the development of technology, EVs now today can be charged wirelessly. Well, with this wireless charging technology as the basis, electric vehicles can be charged while driving. As shown in this picture, the energy transmitters are buried under the road, and the energy receiver is installed on the chassis of electric vehicles. We hope the model of electric vehicles can be powerful while ensuring steady output. So let's take a look at DC motors. Well, this technology is very mature, and DC motors are very stable and suitable for different models. Well, DC motors can be divided into several types. First is the series DC motor. Well, this motor is composed of a field circuit and an armature circuit, while they connected in series. And the next is shunt motor. The armature and field circuits are connected in parallel. And let's take a look about compound motor. Well, compound motor is very special. It has two field circuits. One is in series with the armature circuit, and the other one is in parallel with the armature circuit. And finally, we have PM motor. And PM motor replaces the field circuit with the magnetics. Alright, the next stage is concept definition stage, and in this section, I will select the preferred concept from what we've been talking about. So first, let's talk about the battery. Well, this table shows the performance of nickel hydride battery and the performance of lithium battery. Well, it is really obvious that the lithium battery has bigger massive energy and has bigger output power, and also it has long cycle life. Although nickel hydride batteries are cheaper, but due to their low specific internal energy, a medium-sized electric vehicle needs to install 2 to 3 these batteries, and this is not only increase the cost but also increases the weight. So in summary, the lithium batteries are long end and have better performance, although it's a little bit expensive, but it can be affordable. So I think this is a better choice as batteries for electric vehicles. Next is motor. We should choose motor according to actual needs. Well, it is true that the PM engine has better performance, but it is 2 to 3 times more expensive than any other engines. Therefore, we should choose series DC motor because it can maintain constant power output, it has a small size with a good price, and it is suitable for most small and medium-sized electric vehicles. Okay, now let's talk about charging equipment. Wireless charging is more flexible, convenient, and because there is no need to plug and unplug, it reduces the possibility of electric shock. Well, wireless charging can be divided into short-distance charging and long-distance charging. Long-distance charging technology is too complicated and currently can only use to charge some small sensors with low energy consumption. However, short-distance wireless charging technology is now very mature, and it can be divided into IPT and CPT. Well, as shown in the picture, the CPT system includes an inverter and composite and 2 insulations. CPT charging has advantages, such as electromagnetic interference caused by electromagnetic induction is really low, and it is less affected by metal barriers during energy transmission. However, CPT technology can only transmit several kilowatts at a time, while IPT can transmit tens of kilowatts at a time. So, therefore, I think IPT is more suitable for charging electric vehicles. And as shown in this picture, IPT system includes rectifiers, inverters, cables, and converter. Well, rectifiers, inverters, and cables will be buried in garages or parking lots, and a converter and another rectifier will be installed on the vehicle as the energy transmitter. Finally, I want to talk about grid system. Well, most electric cars are parked in the most of the time, so I can't stop thinking if we feed back the electricity stored in these parked EV batteries to the grid, I think we can greatly reduce the grid pressure. So simply put, this grid system is to release the power in the battery to the home circuit or social public power grid to provide energy when the power grid is intensified. So, to accomplish this vehicle-to-grid system, we really need to install some intelligent detection equipment on the power grid. It can communicate with the electric vehicles about the remaining power of the battery and constantly monitor the power change of the grid. Well, as shown in the picture, ISO monitors the power changes of the grid. RTO gathers the electric energy fed back by each electric vehicle, and ESP sells these electric energies to the power company. So finally, we'll talk about challenges. I think the main challenges of electric vehicle systems are first, the high cost of EVs, and second, the lack of charging facilities. Well, this table is a price comparison between electric vehicles and gasoline-powered vehicles. I chose different models from 4 different companies. I think it is really obvious that the electric cars are basically 2 to 3 times more expensive than gasoline-powered vehicles. I thought the reason why EVs are so expensive is that EVs need to be loaded with a large number of batteries to provide sufficient power. However, high initial cost is not the entire picture. The battery life is limited. For example, lithium batteries can last at most 2,000 cycles, which is equivalent to 4 to 5 years of working life, which means EVs need to renew batteries every 4 to 5 years. Most cities today lack basic charging facilities. An ordinary plug-in charging pile takes 6 to 9 hours to fully charge the battery of an electric car. Such a long charging time greatly reduces the driving range of the EVs and affects the user experience. However, if we use wireless fast charging technology to charge EVs, it only takes about 30 to 60 minutes to fully charge the battery. However, the cost of building and installing wireless charging facility is really high, especially if we want to equip charging piles with intelligent monitoring systems. So this is basically everything in part 1, and now let's have a quick review. First, I introduced the history of electric vehicle, and then I mainly focus on the concept development stage, which takes place early in the system engineering lifecycle, and also is the foundation of electric vehicle system. And finally, we discussed the challenges in electric vehicle system. And I will discuss the rest of the system in part 2, so I will catch you again soon for the part 2 video. Cheers, have a good one.